Hello. So beginning of April and I'm thinning my grapevines. I want to show you how to do it. Come join me in the chaos. So I'm getting some growth on my grapevines. See if I can do this without blocking the light. If you look right here, you can see some of these grapes. These are grape flowers. That's what they look like when they first start setting. And you have to kind of envision what you want your grapevines to look like. So things like this, I don't want grapevines climbing my grapefruit tree, even though they both start with grape. Yeah, I really made that joke. I don't want that to happen, so I'm going to pull this back and, train it over here where I want it to be. I want it to stay on the trellis. I also want to make sure that my growth is headed upwards, not downwards. So pay attention to which direction stuff is growing. A lot of these already thinned out, so you'll notice that there's growth pointed upward. I had some growth that was pointed downward, but I've already cleaned a lot of those up. So you want to go along, and if there's anything pointed the wrong direction that you don't approve of, you can just kind of knock those buds off early. I have something special going on right here. So I ran some of these runners up here onto my gazebo because I want to cover that entire thing with a canopy of grape leaves and grapes. So normally most people don't do this. Normally I would prune them, very local in this area. But what I will do is I don't really want grapes to be growing in this particular section, and I'm gonna want a really light leaf cover because I don't want this to be heavy right here. And so I'll probably go through and take off any grape flowers. Like right now this flower is really small. This is gonna be a bundle of grapes. So I would probably just pick that off. They become a lot more obvious as they get bigger. But this spot right here isn't gonna be able to hold much weight. I would say that would probably, this wire could probably hold a couple 100 pounds, but I don't necessarily want this much tension in this area. So I'm not gonna wanna have too much leaf mass here. Maybe just a slight amount just to cover this area, just to make it look greener. But the majority of these positions I'm gonna be removing, especially ones that aren't in the right direction. Like this orientation's wrong, I don't want it to growing in that way. That one's growing straight up, that's okay. This one's growing down, you could probably, knock the buds off that are growing in the wrong direction. Same thing over here, wrong direction. Remove it before you waste nutrients, wrong direction. See if there's any more obvious ones that are easy to understand what I'm doing. Same thing here, if you can see this, wrong direction. This one's the right direction, it's pointed upward. And this whole branch right here, I'll probably move. You gotta be careful though, because now that everything's budding out, it's very easy to just accidentally knock those buds off. I'm gonna have to do that when I have wire. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna carefully put this up here, and then I'm gonna secure it with some wire so that it doesn't move around. Mainly because if the wind starts blowing, this will move in the wind, and this smashing into this bar in the wind will potentially just knock these new delicate shoots right off, which I may or may not want. I might decide just to strip everything off of this and then just leave the ones further up there that I'm gonna be using to cover this canopy. Going over here, I don't really want growth closer to the ground. So if I look right here, there's gonna be some shoots like this. That can come off, this can come off, this can come off. And I'll get plenty of growth up here, so I don't have to worry about doing any damage. This is kind of growing the wrong direction. So I'll probably either prune it here so that it branches to the sides, or I might knock the entire branch off, and I haven't decided. Looking at it, I'm probably going to sever it here. I just don't want that growing out this direction. So I'll come back with my pruning shears and fix that in a minute. Oh, I'm able to do it. So depending how strong your fingers are, apparently you can still break those. Those are it's probably about a week and a half's worth of growth. These just broke buds just a few days ago, so it's amazing how fast they're growing. A lot of growth down here. I don't really want that much growth down here. So a lot of this stuff I'm gonna thin so you understand what I just did there. I want that to have all of its growth in this area up where I have my trellis. I don't necessarily want more down here. I'm kind of doing something different where I have an upper trellis and then I have a front trellis here. This front trellis, I'm gonna have one level of grapevines low to the ground, and then here I'm gonna have another level of grapevines higher up. And so I wanna make sure that there's clearance for airflow. If you're familiar with grapes, you'll understand that if there's not enough airflow, it's very easy to get fungal infections in grapevines. And what I'm doing now, this one's the wrong direction. I want that up, not down. And there's plenty of other positions that buds will come up. You'll look here, and there's some secondary buds that will become active now that I've broken off those buds that had what's called apical dominance. You break off the buds that are growing really fast. The ones that are growing fast have something special called apical dominance, which means the plant has chosen to route hormones and nutrients to those particular positions. But when you break them off, the plant has no choice but to send nutrients and hormones to other positions. And so these other buds will wake up and become active. So if I see a bud even developing in the slightest in a spot I don't want, I'll preemptively remove that bud just so the plant doesn't waste any energy just trying to develop that position. And this, in the way I just described, you can actually design your grapevines before the season even begins and save yourself a lot of time. Again, right here, this is perfect. This is perfect. This is not perfect. I don't want that growing that way, so I'm gonna remove it. And it all depends on what you want. The rest of that's fine. This one back here, I don't want this growing that direction, so I'll remove that. This one's gonna be growing up that way. So I have enough positions on here that I don't really need this one, so I'm just gonna remove it. But if I wanted to, I could leave that. When you're growing grapes, you don't want too many positions for nutrients to be sent to grapes, because those sugars will be spread out so much that you'll notice that the grapes won't get as sweet as they could, or they'll just be really small if you leave them on long enough so that they actually are sweet. Grapes are one of those fruits that develop on the vines. You don't want to pick them early like you can with tomatoes. This is growing the wrong way, so I'm going to carefully remove that. I don't really like this one right here, so I'm going to move that. I kind of like the ones, like I said, they're above. They're coming from they're pointed in the above direction. And the reason why, as they start getting grapes on them, they'll start to weigh more and more. And I've had it happen where they're pointed the wrong direction. They start developing too much leaf mass and too much grape mass. And that's usually the spot that they'll actually break. They themselves will just, I don't know how to describe it except in engineering words, this will structurally fail, where this will just, it'll get so heavy that it'll just, boop, it just breaks off. And then you end up losing the half-developed grapes anyway. So your plant just wastes its time doing that. So anything that's pointed up, from my experience, is good. Anything that's pointed down has a much higher chance of failing for a variety of reasons. This one right here is pointed the wrong direction. Once again, I'll just remove that. Just keep growth that's pointed upward. This is pointed down. I'll remove it. And you can kind of imagine the way that's going to look. It's going to create like this umbrella because the sticks are pointed, the canes are pointed upward, and they're basically going to come hang out this direction, and they're going to create like almost like a wave of branches and grapes. So you kind of have to use your imagination while you're looking at these. I think that's about where I want it. I'll probably check on this again in about a week because there's a lot of undeveloped positions that are going to become active now that I've removed those dominant branches. I have more over here. This one I was trying to turn into like a bonsai type tree, and so I've been pruning it back. This one came out of nowhere. That was one of those positions I was telling you about that were inactive. There we go. A position that wasn't active, it put out a new shoot and did a huge amount of growth in a small amount of time. But by breaking it off here, it'll cause this all to create what's called lateral growth, and it'll just kind of branch out and bush out kind of like a tree would. So this is a grapevine, but I'm shaping it into a tree. This has lower growth. I don't want lower growth on here. So all this stuff I'm gonna remove, and I'm gonna try to concentrate that all into a nice tree-shaped grapevine here. taking off all those apical ends. And I'm basically forcing the tree to put all its nutrients into the existing branches because, like I said, I want it to bush out like a tree. Remove that. You can kind of eyeball it. Like you look at the shape that I'm going for, and then you can notice that this is outside of that shape. And so I just remove that because it's outside of that shape. Another one here. Looks good. More over here. This is a passion fruit vine coming up right here. I actually grew that one from seeds. So from what I understand, that might not be the same type of passion fruit, but you know, I got it from sprouts, I believe. So and these little grapevines are fine. These were first year cuttings last year, so I'm not super concerned about them being perfect. Usually we won't want to prune off too much as long as they're not doing anything crazy. I think this one I'm probably gonna stop it at that point just to keep the growth in this area. If you're not paying attention with grapevines, they'll take over your whole yard, and that may or may not be what you want. And this right here is a different type of grapevine. This is Vitis vinifera. This one over here is the other species that's like fox grapes. I forgot the genus. But anyway, love the look of these leaves. They're like two different colored. Can't really tell in this lighting, but one side will be like dark green and the other side will be light green. And this is a hybrid of Concord and Thompson see this, and they call it Tomcord. And that one's already magically doing what I want it to, which is really cool. I haven't even messed with this one at all. Oop, that one's pointed the wrong direction, but generally most of them you'll see they're all pointed up, which is really cool. And lots of new grapes getting ready to flower. I also have a pure Concord right here behind me. It's not doing too hot. I got this cutting online and it's like barely coming out. So it might be that it just stays dormant longer because this is a very cold weather vine and I'm in zone 9. So I don't know what's gonna happen with a zone 9 plant attempting to grow. Sorry, a zone, probably this is best in zone 6 or 7. I think it'll be okay, but you know, it's just more of an experiment. Over here I have more grapevines on the other side of my orange tree over here. So this one I've been shaping. I love the look of it already. And this was actually a layered vine that came off of this vine. I put it under the ground here and then had it come up here. And then I trimmed it back at the beginning of winter. So I still need to knock off some of these pieces that are growing the wrong way. I don't like the way that's growing. This one's growing the wrong way. I'm gonna try to concentrate my growth up here. So I don't want this shoot, I don't want that shoot. Don't really want any inside branches. That one I might leave just in case. It might be perfect for this wire here. These other bud positions, that's kind of one too many in the same spot. If you look really close here, there's 2 here close together. I'll take one of those out, thin that a little bit. Over here I have 2 in the same spot again. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. So one's going up, and this is a secondary. Notice it's smaller. This one's thicker. This one's a primary. However, my primary is not pointed the right direction. So I'm gonna remove my primary and leave behind the secondary bud position just to grow more vertical. And again, you can do this however you want. Some people actually grow theirs downward. These just put out such an incredible amount of growth that they break. Each of these vines, if I let it go, it'll go all the way across my yard. These things will go like 100 feet long. Just because Thompson sleeve this grows incredibly well in Arizona. So in light of that, I've changed the way I do these. So I think I'm gonna remove this one right here. Keep that position, take that off. you kind of want them to be a little ways apart. I don't know if I mentioned that, but you want to space these out enough because each of these are going to thicken up. That one's growing the wrong way. This one's growing the wrong way. That one's fine right there. Let's see how we're looking over here. That looks all good. Spread out, prune it well. Take a couple leaves out just so I can see. Oh, there's one back here you can see. Growing the wrong way. The rest of these look pretty good. Good spacing. Good spacing, good spacing. That's growing the wrong way. So we'll move that. This one's growing the wrong way. Let's see what's going on down here. That branch fell down. I'm actually gonna just prune this one off. This is, oh, I remember what I was gonna do. I was gonna layer this. I was gonna get a pot of soil and I was gonna put this in the pot of soil and I was gonna grow roots out of it and I was gonna give it to somebody and I completely forgot. So I think it's too late now though. We're too far in the season. So I'll probably just prune this whole thing off. Get my pruners later and prune that there. So I'm gonna ignore that for now. Let's see how this is doing right here. I think that should be fine growing that way. I don't really like this one growing down. Like I said, those get really brittle. I'm just gonna remove that. But that one's growing up. I think that should be fine. I think this is growing the wrong way. Yeah, I'm gonna remove that. So it was putting a lot of energy into that position. But I want this position to wake up, this position to wake up, this position's gonna wake up. Right here I have two at the same position. So I'm gonna take this one off. And again, I'll probably come out here in another week as these other positions wake up so the plant doesn't waste too much energy growing in ways that I don't want it to. Back here, I don't know if you can see that. This one's growing the wrong way. It's growing down. I want only positions that are growing upward. And then these are spaced out well enough. Should be fine there. And I actually did something kind of interesting here. This cordon right here, I decided to let it go that way. This is just 1 year's growth. Went all the way behind my fountain, all along the fence, all the way down over here. And I'm actually starting another vine over here. So probably in another month or two, I'll just sever this, probably about right here, and then cut all that up, and then just leave that grapevine over there. It's just a really easy way to grow these types of grapevines is having them go across your yard and then just burying portions of them and they'll root out pretty well. Just noticing here that there's some buds trying to come out in spots I don't want them. You can always look for those if you don't want a grapevine to produce growth and there's a bud in that spot, and just break it off early and you'll save yourself a little bit of heartache. All right, so this is just a glimpse of what I and most people are gonna do when they have their grapevines. If they want to preemptively design their grapevines before they put too much energy into growing in the wrong directions. So hope this helps you to optimize yours the way you want them to be. I'll do another update in a month so you can kind of see what happened because of these pre-pruning choices that I've made. Hope this helps you.